Nearly a week since its release, and the fallout continues over the book Endgame. With the latest, here is royal expert Patricia Treble. Patricia, we have never wanted you on the show more. Last week, at the end of last week, we were like, where's Patricia? Monday could not come soon enough. Okay.
Good gracious.
So, the latest on this book, the palace says all options are on the table. Are they going to do anything about this? Are they going to take legal action?
So this saga has been 3 years in the making. So let's kind of go back to the beginning just very quickly, because everything seems so clear after the Oprah interview. Some unnamed royal had had concerns and conversations with Harry about Archie's skin color and royal racism. That was the big thing for 2 years. Then you come to the Netflix series, 6 hours, no mention of it. Then you come to Harry's memoir, incredible detail, no mention of it. When he's asked why all of a sudden this has just vanished out of, they're not talking about it, he says it wasn't racism at all. It was an example of royal unconscious bias. And now we have Omid Scobie saying it wasn't one person, it was two people. And apparently this was in the letters. And so there is just this confusion about what is actually said. And remember, we literally do not know who said it, because did Omid Scobie get it right or did he get it wrong? We don't know what was said and what the context was said. And so legally, would you want to take that into court? I'm going to say they're not going to touch this, because legal cases, very public, and they go on forever. Right now, Harry's lawyers are in court saying that he was unfairly removed of his police protection. And that happened 4 years ago. So I don't think they're going to touch it. I think they're just going to wait this out, because it is a mess now.
Now, the book's author, Omid Scobie, he has said that he never submitted a book or a transcript or manuscript with the names. Are we any closer into figuring out or realizing what actually happened, what occurred here?
So he's said very specifically no book. And I think what we're finding out is that there was a second version. There was an earlier version that was floating around, because not only do the Mirror and the Sun have taken to transcribing versions of the Dutch version on like really significant key points and mirroring them up, and there are things that are added and subtracted. So completely different version. The Times has said that it was, as you said, it was the agency of Omid Scobie who sent an earlier version to the Dutch, and I think that simply it got flipped with the final version. And I'm going to say, as somebody who's, I've been involved in editorial process with incredibly legally important issues, I've never seen an editorial process like this, especially when you need a lawyer to sign off on things. Usually, you very carefully track what is the live current version, and you make sure that's the final version.
It sounds very sloppy, and some you can't help but wonder if if it's intentional at some, to sell.
Yeah, and the other problem is that early versions, and people will kind of like, they don't always understand, but a lot of the versions, you write everything, and then you go back and you double check and you make sure you've got all your sourcing and you make sure you've actually written it correctly. So often the early versions have a lot to do with the final version, but a lot of significant things can change, because especially editors will go in and they'll start going like, what is your sourcing? How sure are you? And they'll soften things. And so, yeah, it's just a mess.
Well, this cannot bode well for relations with Harry and Meghan and the family. And we always talk about reconciliation. I mean, in Omid's book, there was the headline that anytime Kate, and, these are quotes taken from the book, and who knows where all of this is coming from. But there was one headline that Kate shivers every time she hears Meghan's name. Yeah. Now with this, this is not going to help.
I think all this, we were talking, a few weeks ago about tentative little, steps. I think that was one step forward. This is now 7 back.
Oh, yeah.
I think nothing's going to happen for a while.
All right, meantime, Patricia, there is a British MP who reportedly now wants to see Harry and Meghan officially stripped of their royal titles. So what more can you tell us about that?
So this is a Tory backbencher. He's a monarchist, and he says basically, if you're going to be trashing the institution, you shouldn't have the titles. Now, is his bill going to go anywhere? I don't think so. But if this becomes a political issue, because remember, it is Parliament that gave them the titles Duke and Duchess of Sussex. It is Parliament that can take it away.
Okay, now, there's word that Harry and Meghan have been left off a guest list for whose wedding?
The Duke of Westminster. So billionaire.
Not the Dukes.
The Duke, billionaire guy. And I'm going to say, well, you know, you've got wedding angst, and then you've got billionaire wedding angst. And he had a conundrum. So he is not only fabulously wealthy, he is the godson of the king, and he is godfather to William's son George and Harry's son Archie, and has apparently maintained close relationships with both brothers, even through all of this. But this is his wedding, and everyone is going to be there. And he's like, I'm not dealing with royal angst. I'm not going to deal with the circus that is going around it. So he had to make a decision.
Fair.
Fair. So the king and the Waleses and everyone are coming, and Harry and Meghan apparently not invited.
All right. And finally, the trailer for part 2, excuse me, The Crown's final season. We just mentioned off the top of the show, it has been released. And what are we learning from this, Patricia?
So trailers or teasers, right? They want you to come in, and certainly what we see is young William, and it's a lot of him dealing with the aftermath of his mother's death, but also the very start of his relationship with Kate. We know that there've been scenes shot of the two of them at the University of St Andrews up in Scotland, where they met, and so a lot of young people, a lot of screaming young girls, because remember, you know, back then, I mean, he and Harry were just the pop stars of their day.
All right. Well, we'll stay tuned for that, Patricia. Thank you. You couldn't have arrived sooner than this. Thank you so much. Well, you could have, but you were busy. Thank you.
You're welcome.